Hello, everybody. This is Alex's World of Math, and today we're going to go through 10 questions on SAT. These are all hard, so if you have any questions, you may leave a comment, or you can find my email in the video description. Um, so, and if you have any other questions you would like me to uh go over in a future video, you may comment that below or email me. Uh, so the graph uh of the equation ax plus ky equals 6 is a line in the xy plane where a and k are constants. And if the line contains the points -2, -6, and 0, -3, what is the value of k? Well, if you're given 1 point only, you can't really solve for two variables. But if you're given 1 point on only on an equation with only one unknown variable, you can solve for it. For example, if you have y equals to 3x plus b. I'm pretty sure you guys already did this before in algebra. Uh, if you're given like 0, 4, right? 4, then you can solve for b. So if you have only 1 point, then um, if you only have 1 point, then you can solve for equations by plugging them in um, when they only have one constant. But if you have two constants, you need 2 points, and we're given 2 points, so we can create system equations. In this case, in this example, you just plug in 0, x for 0, you get 3 times 0 plus b is equal to 4. And then b is equal to 4. And that's how you solve for the constant b. And in the other case, we need to set up a system of equations. So, all right, so we have -2, -6. We can plug that in for for x and y. So this is x, this is y, and you have a times -2 plus -6 times um okay, right, it's equal to 6. And you also have the equation from this. Uh, you have a times 0 plus -3 times k is equal to 6. And at this point, you can solve by hand by literally solving for k in the bottom equation and plugging the k value into the first equation to solve for a. Because as I said before, if you only have one constant, if you're given one, then well, in this case, it's just one value, but you're getting rid of that value, so you're only leaving one other variable left in the equation, which you can solve later. Or we can use Desmos to solve for it. So I'm gonna first show how to solve it by hand. So I'm just gonna quickly do it. So we have k equals to -2 because you divide -3 on both sides. That gets you -2. So if k is equal to -2, then you can plug that in for this equation, and you get -6 times -2 minus 2a. That's from here. So 6. You have 12 minus 2a. Let's go to 6. You can bring the 6 to this side. I always like to bring the positive to this side so that uh, you don't have to divide by negative. But you could just move the 12 to the other side too. Minus 6 on both sides. And you have 12. Sorry, I'm at 6. You have 6 is equal to, you can add 2a on both sides. 2. And divide 2 on both sides. You get a is equal to 2. So now you found your answer. You have k is equal to -2 and a is equal to 3. And actually, they only wanted value of k, so I guess you already solved it. It's negative. I didn't look at the question, but if you needed to solve for both variables, yeah, so you do it. And you could have also used Desmos to solve for the value by looking at the intersection. of the two equations to solve for one of the variables. For example, this was you plug in say for the top equation, it would be -2a plus 6k. I'm pretty sure you have to replace this with x. So if x, we treat x as a, y as k, and uh, you have -2k equals 6, k is y, so 6. See, the intersection is at 3, -2, which is indeed our answer. So yeah, both ways work. I prefer the hand method, but uh, if you want to graph, you could do it too. In this question, you don't even have to do it. Yeah. All right, next question. All right. So this is a short one. A is at most 2 less than 3 times the value of y. So as soon as I see like any of these like word problems that you can like convert by looking at these words into like expressions or equations, then I immediately do that. So in this case, you have x is at most means that it has to be less than or equal to so it can be equal to 2 less than 3 times the value of y. So 3y minus 2. Whenever you see like something less than or greater than, that means that you subtract 2 or you subtract that number before, like after the expression. But if it just says 2 less than, I mean less or 2 like subtracted by 3, then you don't reverse the order. But if it says less than, then you can put it behind. And 3 times the value of y is denoted by 3. And so they're saying the value of y is -4, what is the greatest possible of x. All right. So yeah, y equals to -4. We can plug that into this equation and find the maximum value that x could be. How can we do that after we plug in y? Because like we have the inequality that's less than or greater, less than or equal to. So if it's less than or equal to, then we know the greatest has to be that number, whatever number that's left on the side. So let's just do it, and then I think you'll see if it works. So we have x is less than or equal to 3 times -4 minus 2, which is also equal to like this expression. The right side is equal to 12 -12 minus 2 is -14. So we have x is less than or equal to -14. So I think all you have to do is understand this expression. So what this says is x is less than or equal to -14. What that means is that it has to be either less or equal to, and we know that when it's equal to, obviously that's the highest number it could be. Like the greatest number is -14. If you go anything less, you get -15, which is less than -14, or if you go to negative infinity, that is less than -14. So your answer is -14. Yeah. I think that was just understanding like how word and how to translate word into expressions and expressions back into like word problems. All right, next one. Number 3. Um, a movie theater sells 2 types of tickets, adult tickets for 12, child tickets for 8. 8. So this already feels like a system of equations problem. Normally it's like um it's having two variables that you need to solve for using two systems of equations. And so in this case, I feel like adult tickets would be the variable and the number of child tickets would be the other variable, but let's keep reading. Um, The theater sold 30 tickets for a total of $300. How much dollars was spent on adult tickets? Disregard the follow center grading your answer. So they're saying that the total tickets is 30. Uh the total is $300. We have adult tickets for 12. We have child tickets for 8. So this is a system of equations. If you try to use every single information that's given to you. So you're given, there's two types of equation problems that they're giving to you. Like there's two information types of equations that you can solve by like modeling two different types of information. Sorry. Um, so the first thing is the number of tickets. So the number of tickets, you have only adult tickets and child tickets. So if you know there's only adult and child tickets, then you know the total number of tickets has to be 30 because they give you 30, meaning that adult tickets plus child tickets has to equal to 30. That's given the problem. All you have to do is like read this part and like it's just understanding it. And you know the total, and then the second type of information is the total type of tickets for adults that are $12 in total. So that can be denoted by 12A because for every adult ticket you have $12 added to the total amount of like earnings. So this is denoting the profit for not profit, sorry, the total like revenue made from adult tickets only. And then to account for the child tickets, so you can just do 8 times C, because every child ticket is $8, and so the total amount would be 8C. Say you had like 2 child tickets, you would make $16, right? So we know that that will be the total revenue. And the total revenue they gave us was 300. So we know that this is also equal to 300. And so now we have a system of equations and we can solve for it. The first thing I notice is that uh, you can actually just use decimals. That might be easier. Uh, but okay, let's solve for hand first, by hand first, and then we can confirm our answer through decimals. But if you want, you can just use decimals. So first you can divide everything by 4 to simplify everything. So you have 3A plus 2C is equal to okay, so 100 divided by 4 is 25. And so 300 divided by 4 is 25 times 3, which is 75. And so we have this equation and this equation. And then so we can multiply this equation by -2. You can also use substitution by substituting like a uh like a after you subtract c on both sides into the second equation. I like to do it this way. You can do it either way. So now you have -2a minus 2c equals to -6c. And now you can add both equations, this equation and this equation. If you add them, -2a plus 3a is equal to a, -2c plus 2c is equal to 0, -6c plus 75 is equal to 15, so a is equal to 15. So they want, oh yeah, so we have we solved for what they wanted. We didn't have to like substitute that back to solve for the other one, for the child tickets. So they're asking for how much was spent on adult tickets. So that is tricky because what we found A is the number of adult tickets. And remember, like when we set the equation, we had 12A. So your answer would not be 15, because 15 would be the amount of adult tickets, not the total revenue on adult tickets. So all we have to do is use this expression, and we already know, and we solve for A. So we have 15 times 12, which would be times 2, okay, because you can break this up. You have 10 times 15, so 150, and then 2 times 15 is 30. You add them together. Way. Another way is and say you have you have this equation. Say you have x for a, you have y for c. We have we find the intersection of the two equations. So x plus y is 30. The next equation is 12x plus 8y is 300. Right, we find the intersection to be 15, 15. So we know that A and C are both 15. And we already found A is 15, so we were right. And then we plug that in. We would have to plug that in to the 12A expression to find the answer because they asked for the adult tickets. How much dollar is this amount? So you would have had to plug it in anyways. So in these types of questions, you would have to like convert their wording into like equations or numbers or inequalities or expressions. And then after you find an answer, you need to look back at what they're asking and making sure you have that your answer matches that. Or if they're asking for something else, like maybe one step after, like this question, they're asking for the amount of revenue made on adult tickets only, then we need to plug that in, whatever answer we got back into we need like follow the answer and then put it into the extra step that we're taking. In this case, we're doing 12 times 15. All right, that was it. All right, so this is yeah another systems of equations. So I mean, I can just graph this, but I'm gonna show how to do it by hand for those who want to do it by hand. So this right away, you can I think it's probably easier to graph it, but you can just add both equations. So you have 2x and the y's cancel out because negative y plus y equals 0 is equal to 1 minus 3 is negative 2 plus x squared. And now you can solve for x by bringing everything to one side and make factor. And now now we have to use the quadratic equation. So we have 2 because negative 2 because this is big C, right? The hidden A and x squared. So you have negative 2, which will be a positive, uh, plus or minus square root, and you need to memorize the quadratic formula. Actually, I'm not sure for the decimals. You can use decimals, but I think there's some questions that are asking for conceptual, so it's always good to remember. And then now you have negative b, so negative. Sorry, I meant b squared, which is squared minus 4 times 1, which is a f c 2, and then 2a 2 times 1. So now this simplifies to 2 plus or minus because the negatives cancel out. Plus or minus square root is 4 minus plus 8 because you have negative 4 times negative 2 times 1 is equal to 8 over 2. And so now we have 2 plus or minus 12 over 2. And now you need to know how to ration. I mean, sorry, you need to like know how to simplify fractions. I meant square roots. So in this case, 12 can be broken up into 4 times 3. 12 is equal to 4 times 3. So you can also write this as 2 plus or minus square root of 4 times 3, 2. And if it's multiplied, then you know that you can separate this into this 3, 2, which is also equal to this is equal to 2. You should get more practice on this. If you do it for a long time, you can do it fast. And you need it for these questions because they don't put it in that form. They don't put it in the unsimplified form. And so you have 2 divided by 2 just one. Plus or minus stays. And then you have the extra two, so you have the root three. They cancel. All right, so your answer is this for x. This is equal to x, and you don't even have to plug in for y because they're asking for which pair of solution is a solution. So the only possible one is a, because only a has the x as either 1 plus root 3 or 1 minus root 3. The other ones do not have 1 minus root 3. So the answer is a. We could have also used Desmos, and I think we needed to round it. So let's go to Desmos. X minus y. Um, y is equal to um yeah. So you have your two intersections at this point, and so after that you can just you would have to write down every single one of these. So for example, you can say like root 3. They'll give you that, and that is neither. And then you would have to try. Sorry, I spelled it. Uh, so you would have to uh plug in every other answer. Have, but just neither of those either, because that and no, none of these are going to be negative. We're looking for 2.732. That's not the answer either. And so 3 would be only one that has the x values. And if you write the root 3, you would have to say like 1.7. The y is also 1.7. So you can either do that by trial and error, or you can do it by hand. Both ways. Again, there's two ways to do the questions, or even more, but these are, I think, the most obvious. All right. And it's good to know how to do both ways, just in case if there's like a question that like maybe you can't graph, or maybe you have to graph. That'll be very useful. So I would recommend for every single question to like practice doing it both ways and get the same answer. All right, so number 5, you have this expression, and then B and C are constant integers, they're variables. I think wait, actually constants. And then if the expression is equivalent to x plus b, uh, and x is not equal to b, then what could be the value of c? Well, this one uh is actually quite tricky. So um you want x plus b to uh to be the result of this, right? One way I see this happening is if the top is equal to x plus b times x minus b, because then you have x minus b on the bottom. Like we're saying, if the top instead of x squared minus c is equal to that, then these cancel and you get your desired x plus b, right? So the only way for this to happen is if that happens. Um, So, and the top is x squared minus c. So we're basically saying that that the x squared minus c has to equal to that to get the x plus b. And so yeah. So and they're also giving that they're positive integers. So the top would be equal to x squared, right? The FOIL minus b bx minus And then so these cancel out, and you're left with x squared minus b squared. You could have also noticed that this is a difference of squares expressions to get you this expression. So you have squared minus c is equal to x squared minus c from here. You can cancel these out. You're left with this, or in other words, multiply negative on both sides. C is equal to b squared. So what could be the value of c? Well, b squared, right? If you know that they both have to be integers, then b squared, b has to be an integer, but an integer squared is also an integer. So it has to be a perfect square, which is 4. This 4 can be shown as t squared. And so that's the only possibility of c. Alright. And again, if you have any questions, I'll leave them.